Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Crime Centric. This being a show where I talk about TV shows that are crime dramas. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the series premiere of Warrior. Great series premiere. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. So obviously we have a lot of an immigration situation, and obviously we see... it's to sadly be expected because they're doing a time frame in San Francisco, what's it, like 1878 or something like that, and it is like, hey, you all these people coming from China are here taking our jobs type of situation. So it is kind of that like sad situation of like how it trickles down where it's like, all right, the Irish have like beef with black people, but now they also have issues with the Chinese because Chinese people and black people were being paid less and less to take their jobs. I mean, it's not. And that's the sad thing. This is even present day, that's still, an ever-present, situation when it comes to immigration. People who come to this country, and are paid less and people do that because they need to. They're trying to scrape by, like, to come to this country just because it's their only shop, especially back then. And we don't know we get like little conversations here and there throughout the episode about what's going on back in China. But it's like, yeah, whatever's happening there is a lot worse, and you're willing to deal with a lot more here in this country where you are spit on and you are hated and murdered in the street for nothing. Because a lot of the laborers are killing Chinese people just for the sake of it's their way of striking back, being like, hey, if we kill you, you'd be more likely to go back. It is literally go back to your own country type of situation, which I think the irony is lost on a lot of people there, but obviously we get introduced to our protagonist, Assam, who... I also got to admit, I wasn't expecting that character to be the shit talker he is, but I think that's also like the point. Like, he isn't like, oh, I'm the quiet, respectful martial artist. It's like, nah, I'm gonna talk shit because it sounds like his situation back home wasn't the greatest, and it's kind of like you do whatever. Especially once again, you're coming to a country where people look down upon you. Like, if you seem meekish, if you seem weak, people are gonna take advantage of that. So it's like, nah, and like the immigration people, like, he whooped their asses. To make a point. He was also telling that person who had their food dropped, and it's like, I'm starving, but he was like, do not pick that up. Like, we are not dogs to, like, beg for scraps, that, like, hold your head up with pride. Don't let them take your pride from you, so... Which can be a good thing and a bad thing, because obviously when they see someone proud like that, they're going to want to start shit, So that's also the thing of, like, he invites a lot of trouble, and you can tell he's going to be inviting a lot of trouble his way because he is a cocky bastard. So I think that's going to be, like I said, because you like a protagonist like that, but you would almost think he wouldn't. You'd think he'd be, the quiet, like, silent warrior type. Like, oh yeah, I'm quiet, but I'm a secret badass. It's like, nah, I'm loud and, like, I talk shit and I'm ready to back it up. So I wasn't, having seen the tiniest bits of this show, like, just having a general idea what the show was about, I had no idea that he was that type of protagonist, which isn't a bad thing. It just took me by surprise. Like, oh man, you talk all kinds of mad shit. Obviously, he knows when and when not to, because he was in front of, like, the leader of the Hopway, and it's like, yo, I know when to keep my mouth shut. Well, when the guy was like, yo, you're an onion, so you do not turn away from me without bowing. And so he has to bow, which even June is like, yeah, my dad's kind of a dick, so... He kind of gets the way of the land. He gets to kind of run things because it's like, yeah, I'm the boss's son. So it's like, yeah, I'm the son of a whore and a crime boss. It's like, how did I come out looking so pretty? I think it's so interesting because he talks about his dad as like, yeah, my dad might be an older age, but like he was there during the wars. He scrapped by, like he like fucking slew everyone on a British ship. Like, yeah, so he has a lot of legacy to him. I am curious, like, how much of that is like, no, that's just like his legend is kind of like, there's always going to be some truth in it, but there's always going to be like, it's always going to get like, mystified, like it's going to be exaggerated over the years, but I mean, maybe there's no exaggeration to it. He might have been like, Father June might have been like that guy back then, so. But obviously, like, this situation revolves around the, the warring tongs and stuff like that. Everyone, like, encroaching, like, because it seems like the Hopway kind of ran things for a while, and it's like, was it the Zhang, what was the other group's name? Was it like the Zhongli? I want to say I can't remember the other group's name. That we'll get to it later. That My Ling is part of. So, but I think it's so interesting, obviously, but it's like that group is like encroaching on like the Hopway. Like I said, it seems like they've been running things for so long. They're the ones that paid off like the ports to kind of like export things. And I guess molasses is their code word for opium, because he was like, they said molasses and then they were like, oh, we're running the opium. So I'm like, do you mean legitimate molasses? Is that part of the opium process? Or was that just another way of being like, no, opium? Maybe those are two separate things, or maybe it is just kind of one and the same. I'm ignorant and stupid, so I do apologize. But we find out that Assam is here specifically for someone, and it's a woman named Zhao Jing, who turns out to be Myling, because she abandoned that name all those years ago because she is his sister. And I was like, I was wondering, I was like, would you really go all this? I mean, I was like, is this going to be like star-crossed lovers? Not star-crossed lovers, but I was wondering if this is going to be kind of like a Romeo and Juliet thing. It doesn't seem like it is. I just couldn't tell, but it's like, no, it's a family thing. It's actually really sad to hear what the circumstances are. His sister was kind of forced to marry someone. Specifically, it seems like for Assam, and she ran away, and because of it, their dad was killed by the guy. But the way Assam talked about it, it didn't sound like he killed the guy. It seems like the guy just died. I mean, maybe he had something to do with it, or maybe someone else bumped the guy off, but he must have been someone powerful. But for her, it's like, dude, I was abused. Let's not admit to where she's like, he beat me and raped me, not once, regularly. And where were you? And he's like, where's the great warrior Awesome? So it's like, right, you were the badass, but I think it's, once again, he is the cocky shit talker that he is, but I think he is someone that does fall in line depending on who it is. Like he does with Father Jun, like maybe he did the same thing with this guy as well. Was it like Sung Young or something like that, I believe? So came all this way, joined the Hop Way for the purposes of getting your sister back, but she doesn't want to go back with you because who she was back then, it's like, Zhao Jing was in her words, like a stupid farmer girl, like, she died the moment she was in Sung Yang's bed. And I'm a different person now. She does seem like she's a major player in all that's going on. Because she definitely has her own role in things, and I'm curious, did she seek out that role? Did she fall into it? Because like there's so many moving pieces to this crime situation. Because like obviously the mayor has his play in all of this, but also like his right hand dude, Mr. Buckley, seems like he has his own play in this. It seems like he might have more precedence over like the mayor. It seems like the mayor's just kind of a means to an end. Like, oh, I'm gonna let you kind of run this shit, but secretly I'm doing my own thing, because he's kind of playing 3D chess. He's playing all sides because the mayor's trying to appease some of the businessmen. What in particular was it, like Merriweather? Like he's trying to appease him because two of his laborers got arrested for killing some Chinese workers, and then you had that cop Lee. I was like, oh, he seems like the good guy cop, especially when he was the one in court willing to testify about, hey, these men deserve to be arrested and go to jail because they murdered somebody. Because the mayor's trying to sweep that under the rug, try to get them arraigned and stuff like that. But then like Leary's kind of in who, like I said, there's just so many interesting factions because Leary is on the laborer side of things of like, right, we fought for this country and they've taken advantage of us. They won't pay us a fair wage, and they're finding. And it doesn't make Leary, like, using terminology like, oh, subhuman people that work cheaper for us. It's like, you're trying to make ends meet so are other people, but that's the point of it. Like, right, keep everyone so busy fighting themselves, like everyone on top gets to stay on top, essentially, So it's just like everyone's trying to scrap by, get what they want. So, but like I said, there's just interesting factions because you have Leary leading like the laborers trying to like push back against. It's like, right, we're going to force it. Like, it's like, right, can we help, fight Lincoln's war? And what did blacks do? What did they do? They stayed here instead of going back to Africa. So it's, once again, it's like got smoke for black people, got just as much smoke for the anyone that's Chinese as well. So. Because Leary made it pretty clear he's going to be dealing with Lee, even to the point that, because there's that main cop, Bill. He's a sergeant, I believe. He ended up having to put together basically a task force for Chinatown, but like no one wanted to do it. So three of the people were kind of forced to. Lee agreed to it because it's like, he doesn't have that same connection because he wants to do good. I think because there's certain characters you're already kind of introduced to that seem like they don't like the way things are and the way people are treated. Lee's one of them. Miss Blake is another, where it's just like she was talking to the mayor about like, yeah, but like the government treats him as less than. And I love the mayor being like, yeah, but you are married to the government, and like, because their whole situation is kind of an arranged marriage. I even love like she stripped down in front, and he almost thought like he was going to get lucky, and then she just closed the door. I was like, nice. It's like, but we also see that he visits it's like a brothels. I was about to say, like, I was about to call them the other name, but I'm like, I know there's a different word for it, but I'm like, I don't want to call them those other, but the brothels. And it seems like his proclivities are men and women. So that was interesting. That definitely feels like that's going to be something used against him later on. I can only assume that's a thing that's going to come back to Mr. Buckley. Like, either he already knows, or he's waiting for or someone is going to like spew that, because it's something interesting. Because the madam who runs the place, Atoy, she brings up the point of like the reason why Assam kind of got called out for when the other like Tong group shows up looking for him because he was asking about Zhao Jing, which I guess that was her sending out, like, I guess if she's taking care of anyone that might be looking for her, because Altoy was like, yeah, someone came looking like a year ago, so I guess that was someone that was related to Sun Yang. So anyone that's like connected to her past, like asking about her, she like nips that in the bud. It seems like maybe like the leader of the other group doesn't know about her circumstances, because it seemed like she made that choice unilaterally. So like she's kind of like, it seems like she has a lot of power in that group. But we'll get to that later. My point was that Altoy had said, like, oh, you're putting your business out there in front of a whole bunch of, like, I didn't sell you out, but you did put your business out there in front of a whole bunch of whores. Meaning, like, yeah, there are people here who are, trying to get by and survive, so they know they'll get paid for some useful information. So whoever got killed a year ago asking for Zhao Jing, that same, like, lady at the brothel probably sold them out. But it's because in Assam's mind, it's like, well, even if you didn't sell me out, one of your girls sold me out, and that's kind of the same thing. It's like, no, seems like Atoy had nothing to do with that. I think it's also interesting, too, that Atoy is like, oh, yeah, you're good, but you're not as good as you think you are. Which we did get to see that when, like I said, I want to say it's like the Zhongli, the other group, when he went looking for his sister, and Assam met his match. I mean, the fight was pretty even, but Home Dude was like, Assam up until this point kind of made easy work of anyone he went up against, but he went up against someone really skilled, and Home Dude was kind of handling himself pretty well. The character's Li Yong. That guy is, you're like, oh man, and he wouldn't even get like 100% serious, but you could tell like with like his footwork and his movements, you're like, yo, like it was not the easy, and once again, it was cut short, but I'm like, that wouldn't have gone Assam's way. That guy would have like pieced you up. Like the fact is you are skilled, but you're not as hot shit as you think you are. Like I said, Atoy like was able to kind of pick that up. So we don't know what her circumstances are either. I don't know whether she works for someone or whether she does her own thing, because she did say like, hey, because the reason why Assam didn't like hook up with the woman at the brothel that was kind of recommended to him is because I want to be with someone who actually has a choice, And for Ato, it's like she basically says, yeah, I'm the one person in this place who does have a choice, who isn't, basically wasn't bought and sold for this. So I'm curious, like later on, she kills those laborers who killed who Lee had arrested. Now they're out and about. But I'm curious, is she doing that on her own? Is she just kind of like, yo, you're killing the Chinese late workers here? Like, you think you can get away with it? I'll be an angel of vengeance and kill you? Or whether that's on, I feel like that's just kind of a her thing. So she's definitely got her own secrets, that there's definitely more than meets the eye with her. Not only does she kind of run things as a madam, she's got her own secret thing going on. So I wonder, has she been, I mean, she straight up lopped off one of the dude's heads. The other guy was slicing him up a little bit and like just stabbed him in the throat with the sword. You're like, Jesus, that guy. I mean, I shouldn't be too surprised, but it's like, man, I mean, it's like, I mean, they literally beat two guys to death with hammers in their faces. So it's like, you know, you get no sympathy from her. So it's like, oh, you want to like be nasty and disgusting with it? Like, I'll leave you like nasty and disgusting like you left those people. So I'm just curious to find out more about her circumstances as well. Like I said, there's just so many different groups and sectors. Like I said, I was bringing up before. Bill got paid by Leary to try, like, it's like, yo, I'm gonna go after that boy Lee, because, you know, this is kind of this interesting and complicated ecosystem where it's like, right, we're even though Bill likes Lee, it's still the thing of, yeah, but I'm not trying to get smoke from Leary. Like, last thing I want, because I think it's fellow Irishman type of situation, but also it's like he has a big enough group then, like, yeah, I mean, I don't know if Bill's like necessarily like, well, we already see that Bill toes the line because he was meeting with was it Cow or Chow, which it's my boy Hoon Lee. I was like, yeah, I was like, saw him at the beginning, I was like, is that Hoon Lee? I was like, please tell me he's gonna have a bigger role in this, and I think he is. Hopefully we're gonna see a lot of him. Hoon Lee, like, I best know him for Cinemax wise. Job on Banshee was like the first thing I ever saw him in. I know he was in Iron Fist for a little bit. I feel like there was something else I saw. Oh, probably more recent. I probably think DMZ might have been the most recent thing I'd seen Hoon Lee in. But I was just like, yeah! I was so hyped when I saw him. It does seem like he might be a recurring character, especially when Atoy was like, yeah, don't think you know the circumstances of the man across the bar. So I was like, all right, it definitely seems like there's... I mean, he did sell Assam to the halfway. The other group is the Zhangji. That's why I kept being like, what was their name? It's Zhang Ji, not Zhang Li, like I was thinking. Either way. Speaking of which, Mai Ling seems to be, as I was kind of bringing up before about Buckley, she's working with Buckley to keep tensions between both groups going, between the Hopway and the Zhang Ji. Now, why? I don't know if that's like a power grab for her. Like, that's what I was bringing up before. I don't know if she... is like doing that because like she's trying to like ensue power on her own, or did Buckley reach out to her, or what? I think it is a situation where she's trying to make her own fate and destiny here in this country, but it is a country where you're always going to be subservient to somebody else in some shape or form. I mean, Ashram was like, yo, I'm going to try and find a way back, but it's like, oh no, because you have that mark, he was Chow was like, you can never go back, you're stuck here. So once again, we don't know his circumstances, but like I said, based on what Atoy says, it seems like he might be in a situation where he can't go back home either. So once again, everyone does what they need to do to survive. I'd also lost track of the fact is I brought up earlier Bill's. I'm a little all over the place. I do apologize. Next episode, I'm going to try to be better about it. But it's just like I'm trying to connect all these like plot threads and stuff. Like I was bringing up about Bill's like corruption. It's like, well, he's willing to work with Chow, but even though he said like Chow works all angles. Once again, it seems like everyone's got an angle, and everyone works every angle available to them because that's the only way you're going to survive in this place, it seems. But it's like Bill bought like weapons off of him, but then I love Lee. Lee's the real stick in the mud, the one that's like, yo, shouldn't we be arresting him? And it's like, oh, you'll forget everything you know eventually. You know, don't get so caught up in that. This isn't a place for righteousness, and it's like, don't worry. It's almost like this place will beat that out of you in some shape or form, and I think that's going to be an interesting thing. Seeing like Lee's career, and like if Lee doesn't end up immediately getting killed, well, I don't know. Like having just watched the first episode, I don't know if Leary's going to get to him or not. But it's like, yeah, he's already got a target on his back, so Lee might end up being dead. So, but being the righteous person that you are, trying to do right, trying to do good. Yeah, that could either get you, that's going to either get you killed or that's going to corrupt you over time. We'll have to wait and see what his fate ends up being. I didn't talk about it, but I think this is going to be something we see more and more as the show progresses. But I think it's such a neat little camera thing that they do where they like spin the camera where like, and it switches between the languages. Because I mean, I'm sure, I wonder on some technical level, do they do that? Not technical, but on some level, do they do that just because because they know some people are like weird about subtitles, and it's like, right, if the entire like show was in a different language, like people wouldn't gravitate towards it like that. So you can sprinkle it in here and there. Or is it just supposed to be an aesthetic like decision of like, right, like this is what it, I mean, they're saying the exact same thing, they're just saying it in a different language, but like the switch between languages, like when you do like the cameras, I was like, they did it like twice in the episode, and I love that, like especially have the audio bleeds into like the different language. I was like, oh, that's so neatly done, I like that. You know, because it's like, yeah, this is what we sound like to each other, but like to anyone that isn't Chinese, it's like, oh yeah, like, you know, it is a different language. So, but I love how that's represented on screen like that, you know? It was just kind of one of those details I immediately noticed early on the show. I was like, oh, like I said, they did it like twice in the episode. I thought it was pretty dope. But either way, I already went into this knowing like, oh, I heard nothing but good things about this show, and I'm glad to finally start it. I know season 3 is like right around the corner, but I think it's at what, 2 weeks from now, a little less than at the time of recording this. But yeah, I'm excited to keep going down this route. It seems like this is going to be one of those very like actioning, bloody crime dramas, and I'm all here for it. But I'm also invested in the story and these characters so far to kind of see where they all end up. So. But really, that's all I wanted to talk about. Until the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day, and good